Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. And tonight's Raw was held from the Verizon Arena in Little Rock, Arkansas. And this was the go-home show for Money in the Bank, which is this upcoming Sunday. And I gotta say, tonight's Raw, I thought it was a decent show. Not the best Raw, but it was better than the Raws that we've gotten over the past few weeks. But there were some matches that were shit, some stuff that was meh, but it was a decent go home show, in my opinion. But the show opened up with Braun Strowman, Sasha Banks, Kevin Owens, Bobby Roode, Ember Moon, Finn Balor, and Natalya in the ring on top of ladders. Also Alexa Bliss. I forgot to mention Alexa Bliss also was in the ring. And Kurt Angle ends up coming out and says, the Money in the Bank matches are the most cruel matches in WWE history. And he ends up saying the winner will cash in, for each, for the men's and the women's, whoever wins, the Money in the Bank matches, whoever wins the briefcase will cash it in at any place, any time for a championship match. So out comes Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin ended up getting a new look. He ended up shaving his hair, looking bald now. You might as well call him Baldy Corbin, because it showed a video of him, getting his head, his hair shaved, off, and looking with this new do for him, this new look for him. So he ends up coming out and he says, he wants Raw to run smoothly. And he doesn't want Curt to disappoint Stephanie, meaning that he doesn't want to see a Raw superstar lose the Money in the Bank matches from the men and the women's. And Alexa says she will fight through the pain and retrieve the briefcase and make Stephanie proud. Ember Moon says to Alexa, after this Sunday, her shoulder is going to be sore. Alexa's shoulder is going to be sore. Natalya says, she is ready for the match. She cashed it in, and she cashed it in on the next WWE Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey. If Ronda does win Sunday. So, and Sasha says, she's going to cash it in. Curt says, the briefcase will be raised for everyone, because, Kevin Owens was bitching, saying, oh, how is Strowman going to, retrieve the briefcase? Are you going to lower down, the briefcase for him to reach it? And so Strowman says, he's going to retrieve it. He's going to retrieve the Money in the Bank briefcase and cash in, the briefcase on Lesnar. And Alexa says, Strowman, she believes, Strowman is going to retrieve it, because, if you remember, Alexa and Strowman, were tag team partners in the mixed match challenge. So Alexa, had to go with Strowman. And Sasha says, she thinks Balor is going to win because, of course, Sasha and Finn, were tag teaming in the mixed match challenge. And Strowman says Sunday someone is going to get these hands, and then that's when when the segment ended. But it was a pretty entertaining opening segment to Raw tonight. I thought, sets up some hype for the Money in the Bank matches this Sunday, and then. After that, we had the first match of the night, which was the Fatal 4-Way. There was the women and men's fatal 4-way matches tonight. So this fatal 4-way was the women's fatal 4-way. It was Natalya versus Sasha, Banks versus Alexa Bliss versus Amber Moon. This was an entertaining match. I really enjoyed this match. It was back and forth between all of them. Natalya still had her her leg injured. Natalya ended up getting the win with the sharpshooter on Alexa Bliss. Speaking of Alexa Bliss, she was going to get out of this match, wants to get out of this match, so she wouldn't compete, and once again, and so Natalya ended up not letting Alexa get away, and Natalya, like I said, got the win with the sharpshooter on Alexa to score the win. But it was an entertaining fatal 4-way match. I really enjoyed it. Definitely flowed really decent. Then we had, after that match, we had Finn Balor and Kevin Owens in the locker room. Kevin Owens ends up bringing Finn some olives. And Owens says, to Balor that they need to have a plan for their fatal 4-way match tonight. Owens says, that both of them haven't gotten a rematch for the Universal Championship. And Owens says, Strowman might not make it to Money in the Bank, and that Balor, and that he and Finn and Bobby Roode can all take out Strowman tonight in the fatal 4-way match. So that was pretty much the segment with them. Then we had Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre versus Breezango. This was kind of a shitty match, in my opinion. Drew McIntyre, from what I heard, they want to break up. Dolph and Drew have, Drew go, just by himself, just be a singles competitor. That's what I heard that they're trying to do. Is they're trying to break, Ziggler and McIntyre. Which McIntyre doesn't really need to be in this, be a tag team partner with Ziggler. McIntyre is better on his own. When he's on his own, he screams. This screams, from McIntyre coming back. It screams, he needs a title shot, in my opinion. If he is not champion, almost by the end of the year, WWE has missed, something good with McIntyre. I would love to see McIntyre have, a title shot, because he deserves it. He doesn't need to be put as a tag team partner with Ziggler. He works better, on his own as a singles competitor. Look at how he was in NXT. He was the NXT champion down there. He made a great champion. He was really good, and he shines here on the main roster. I think like I said, in my opinion, I think he works better as a singles competitor. But this match, it was a shitty match. Dolph and McIntyre ended up hitting the Claymore zigzag combo on Fandango. That pretty much was the end of the match. So then you had after the match, Dolph says, last week, with them being eliminated from the Battle Royal, was a fluke. They got over it. Dolph says, that every tag team on Raw in the back watching, and, he tells them to take a good look, that, this will be their future. And McIntyre says they are not here to take over the Raw tag team division, but to save it from, taking every other team out. So that was basically what they had to say. But the match itself, it was a shitty match, in my opinion. Sorry about that, but on to the next thing that happened after the Ziggler McIntyre Breezango match. Roman Reigns was being interviewed about his match with Jinder Mahal tonight, and it was announced over the weekend that Jinder wanted to challenge Roman on Raw on Monday. And Roman says, Jinder is an idiot, because he challenged Roman, and he goes on to say that he is the only reason that Jinder is the only reason why Roman is not in the Money in the Bank match. So Roman says everything that is coming tonight with everything is coming tonight with Jinder, and that it's not free, and that Jinder has earned this ass whooping. So pretty much that was basically the interview with Roman Reigns. Then Jinder Mahal ends up coming out with, of course, Sunil Singh. Says he challenged Roman to a match tonight to prove a point, and that Roman is not unstoppable than Jinder thinks he is. And he says at Money in the Bank he sees Roman suffering and unable to keep up with him after he delivers coloss after coloss. Jinder says to Roman that his own failures are clouding his judgment. This was after Roman came out, because Roman ended up coming out. So Jinder said that to Roman that his own failures are clouding his judgment. And he says Roman thought he was going to face Jinder tonight. And he says to Roman that his opponent is another man who is fearless and stands all above competition. And so Jinder then announces that it's going to be, the great, and we all thought it, was going to be the great Khali. But then Jinder announced the great Sunil Singh. And so it was Sunil Singh that Roman took on. And, after that, the match got underway. Roman Reigns versus Sunil Singh. Shitty match. It was just Superman punch, spear. That was it. Roman Reigns wins the match. Did I need to say who won this match? Then after the match, Jinder Mahal then attacks Roman, hits him with the coloss, and that was it. So it was a shitty match. Roman Reigns versus Sunil Singh. And I wouldn't be surprised come Sunday that this match, that Chicago crowd, is going to boo and tear up that match with Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal. I'm going to tell you now that the crowd is going to shit all over that match, chanting, "This is boring," or "Beat the traffic," or anything. They'll possibly be tossing beach balls around. Who the hell knows? But I know the crowd is that Chicago crowd is gonna tear up that match and say this is boring, or chant CM Punk. I know there's gonna be CM Punk chants. I know that for a fact. So I can't wait to see that Chicago crowd tear up this match with Roman and Jinder. Cannot wait. Because who asked for Roman versus Jinder? Nobody. Then we had the B team, Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel versus Heath Slater and Rhyno. This was a meh match. The B team, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas got the win. They ended up hitting a double neck breaker to Heath Slater. After the match, Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy are on the Titantron, saying that the B team's win was delightful and marvelous. They end up showing up on the stage, both Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. Bray says they are watching the B team, and that they bought the ticket and they both have to take a ride. And Matt says, they will eat them and delete them, meaning, the B team. I mean, Curt, Axel, and Bo Dallas. So, but all in all, B team versus Heath Slater, Rhyno was meh match. And then we had Elias saying, he's going to do his best tonight, and he's going to do his best, and tonight he's going to struggle with his performance. And it went to commercial, and then when when Raw came back from commercial, Elias was in the ring. He was out. He says, to the crowd to remember this moment, and that they are seeing a once-in-a-lifetime performer and his final moments before he becomes the Intercontinental Champion. If he wins it at Money in the Bank on Sunday. And so he starts singing about Seth Rollins, saying, he is a disgrace to Monday Night Raw. And Elias ends up shitting on the Arkansas crowd. He ends up showing a guitar that was given to him by John Mayer, the guy who sings Your Body's a Wonderland, which is a really good song, one of my favorite John Mayer songs. I think he sings Heartbreak Warfare, which is another one of my favorites from him. But he ends up getting this guitar, which he said was given to him by John Mayer. It was a not bad looking guitar, I gotta say. It had, Elias's name on the top and bottom, and then on the other side, it had the Intercontinental title on it. Not a bad looking guitar. It was pretty cool looking. And Elias says next week he is gonna play his greatest song when he has the Intercontinental title around his waist. Seth Rollins ends up coming out. Elias goes after Seth. Seth ends up, tossing Elias out of the ring. Sorry about that, but I was saying Seth ended up knocking Elias out of the ring. Seth gets on the mic and calls Elias a coward, and he ends up telling Elias that he's not hard to find, and that he's in the middle of the ring every Monday. And Seth says Elias has got it all, the spotlight, the songs, the guitar. And he then looks over at the guitar, which is set right in the middle where the the turnbuckles are. And he says he doesn't want to hurt the guitar because he was threatening Elias that he was going to stomp and break the guitar that John Mayer Elias claims John Mayer gave him. And he says he doesn't. Seth says he doesn't want to hurt the guitar, which he threatens Elias, thinking that he's going to break it. And so Seth says he knows 3 words, which he taps to the mat. And then the crowd starts cheering, "Burn it down, burn it down." Then we just see Seth Rollins stomp on the guitar and breaks it. So, which we all knew that that guitar was gonna be crushed and be broken. So we saw it before. We have seen it before. With back then, in 2003 when The Rock was doing his concert, claiming a guitar was given to him by Willie Nelson. Stone Cold ended up coming out and stomping on it. So it happened. It happened before. So, but anyways, this segment when Seth Rollins ended up coming out made it a lot more interesting. The guitar that Elias claimed that was given to him by John Mayer was not bad. It looked really cool. With the Intercontinental title on it. So then we had Bobby Roode backstage. Kevin Owens ended up approaching him, saying that, he wants what's best for everyone because, none of them can beat Strowman. And, they need to stop him. And so Kevin Owens was like, all three of us should work together on Strowman tonight. So, Kevin Owens is trying his best, to take down Strowman. And have all three of them have Finn Balor and Bobby Roode and him take down Strowman. So then we had Ruby Riott versus Bayley. Before the Riott Squad ended up coming out, they were going crazy. Backstage, throwing stuff around. Ruby Riott even cut off a piece of a guy's tie, which was funny. So, the match, I say, it was decent. It was back and forth between Ruby and Bayley. Ruby Riott continues to impress in her matches. You had Bayley mess up on her kick and gave Ruby Riott, the chance to take over the match. Well, it looked like Bayley was going to win the match, but the Riott Squad, Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan, got involved. Bayley was trying to knock off Sarah Logan, and that led to Ruby Riott taking control. She ended up throwing Bayley into the steel post, which was hard. You heard that smack, which was pretty crazy though. And then it led to Ruby Riott hitting the Riott kick on Bayley to score the win. So Ruby Riott wins the match. After the match, we saw Ruby Riott go a little like NWO kind of style, where she ended up taking, I think it was like a lipstick, like a black lipstick, and she ended up drawing on Bayley, and she drew like an R on Bayley's stomach. Ruby drew an R on it, and pretty much basically was that. It was kind of like like NWO, but they didn't use spray paint. So it was kind of like the PG version of when they do like when they do the NWO thing, minus the spray paint, the black spray paint. So, well, all in all, the match itself, it was decent. Then we had Jonathan Coachman in the ring. He was there for a sit down between Nia Jax and Ronda Rousey. Ronda ends up coming out, and then Nia Jax ended up coming out. Nia then says, Nia says to Ronda, says Ronda and her are very competitive athletes, and she purposely pushed Ronda's buttons for the past weeks. Nia ends up saying that Ronda is still very new to WWE. She ends up telling her that there's not many things she could do in WWE than what they do in the UFC, which we know that Ronda Rousey is going into the UFC Hall of Fame, which is pretty cool. Ronda ends up saying she has a right to be confident, and Nia says to Ronda that her first match was very competitive, and that Nia has been here for years grinding, and she says come Sunday she wants to take Ronda's reputation, and that after the match they're going to call Nia the baddest woman on the planet. And she says to her that at the end of the day, Ronda's not ready. And Ronda says she was born ready, and she had that that aggressive shouting to Nia, because Ronda was going on saying Nobody thought that I was going to, make it to the Olympics, but I did. Nobody thought I was going to be, the UFC champion. She goes, I sold out, my own card and, pay-per-view buyouts. She went on to say about that. And that's when, she's like, I'm Ronda Rousey. That she was born ready. And so Nia goes to strike at Ronda. Ronda got up first and then Nia. They were, face to face, have a stare down. Nia goes to strike at Ronda. Ronda ends up blocking it, but Nia ends up, headbutting Ronda Rousey. Ronda tries to go for the armbar, like she was trying to get it in, but Nia, was, blocking it for, Ronda to, lock it in on her. Ronda ended up, locking in the armbar. She made Nia tap, and for some reason, I don't know if you all caught this, but the timekeeper ended up ringing the bell. I'm like, when was this a match? This wasn't a match. The timekeeper must have, dozed and not, looked at what was going on in the ring. This wasn't a match. So the timekeeper fucked up on that. So, but all in all, it was a decent segment. I don't know if, in my opinion, I know probably Ronda is not going to win the Raw Women's Championship. I think Nia is going to still retain the title. And the next match was No Way Jose versus Curt Hawkins. 200 losses for Curt Hawkins. Hasn't won one match at all, so it's 0 and 200. Curt Hawkins. Do I really need to say who won this match? If you said No Way Jose, you're correct. No Way Jose won the match because we find out that Curt Hawkins was in No Way Jose's conga line. So Curt Hawkins got out of nowhere. He was dressed up. He had like a blue, sort of looking tutu on him. And No Way Jose ended up striking at Curt Hawkins with the elbow. So No Way Jose wins. And now Curt Hawkins' record is now 201 losses. Oh man, Curt Hawkins always, gonna be a jobber. So match itself, it was nothing. It was shit. Then we had Finn Balor and Bobby Roode backstage. Bobby Roode says, he doesn't trust Kevin. He doesn't trust Kevin Owens, and he tells, Finn Balor, let's listen to Owens. Listen to Owens and, have one eye on him. And Finn says he is going to listen to Owens, and he's going to keep one eye on Bobby Roode. And that was pretty much the backstage segment. Then we had this whole obstacle course thing with Sami Zayn and Bobby Lashley. Renee Young interviews Sami, about this, and Sami says, all he asked was if, Lashley was in the army. Last week he went to mention that. He said people sent records and pics of Lashley in the army. The only way Lashley can prove to Sami that, he was in the army is if Lashley goes through this, this army obstacle course that, was set up. So, it was like, you had like a rope and you had to climb it and ring the bell. There was like a 200-pound wheel, and Lashley had to climb over these walls, which Sami was like, oh, they're like the Three Sister, wall, or something like that though. But Lashley ended up coming out, and Renee Young asked him about this challenge Sami put out. Lashley says that everyone is tired of hearing Sami's mouth, and that he's going to beat him in this obstacle course, and that he's going to beat, and also he's going to beat him this weekend at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And Renee Young ends up doing a coin toss because I guess, Sami Zayn was going to do this obstacle course thing also. So she ends up doing the coin toss. Lashley, came up first. Lashley ended up running the obstacle course, and very impressive with Lashley. He finished that in like 40 seconds. So Lashley does it, finishes it, and so it allowed Sami to attack Lashley from behind. Sami was tossing Lashley, around. Sami then hit the haluva kick to Lashley, and pretty much that was basically the segment. But all in all, this segment was meh. It was pretty shitty. Didn't care for it. Although Lashley was impressive, running through the whole obstacle course. So that was that. Then after that, we had Bobby Roode, Kevin Owens, and Finn Balor backstage. Owens, wants them to take down, Strowman's legs. Strowman ends up coming and says, "Why don't the three of you team up with, him?" So pretty much basically it was that. And then next was the main event, which was the Fatal 4-Way for the men. Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens versus Bobby Roode and Finn Balor. Like I said, Fatal 4-Way. This match, it was a enjoyable Fatal 4-Way. Enjoyable main event also. It was all Strowman when the match started. Strowman was, tossed Bobby Roode over. Tossed out Kevin Owens and Finn Balor. He had, at one point, Kevin Owens was running up the stage and going to the back, but Strowman ended up, getting him, throwing him back on the stage. Ended up tossing Owens into the screen on the stage. He had, at one point, Owens, Roode, and Balor were hitting the ladder to Strowman. Strowman, was tearing up the announce table, before, the three of them came with the ladder and hitting Strowman with it. And so we had, the ladder, set up. Owens wanted Roode and Balor to hold the ladder. And by the way, Strowman was on the announce table. He was laying on the announce table. And so Kevin Owens does a frog splash from the ladder onto Strowman on the announce table. The announce table, breaks, of course. And so, when Raw came back from the commercial, Strowman and Owens were still down from that. And then in the ring, it was just Finn Balor and Bobby Roode going at it. And later on, you had Strowman get up and, took out, pretty much all three of them. You had him do the run-in elbows, where he runs around the ring. He ended up taking out Roode, and once again takes out Owens and turns him inside out. And a ladder was retrieved from under the ring. I think it was Kevin Owens who bought it out. Kevin Owens went under the ring and bought it out. And he was pretty much hitting Strowman with the ladder, and it made Strowman get really pissed off, and eventually led to Strowman choke slamming Owens. Finn Balor ended up hitting the sling blade on Strowman, which was really cool, and then hitting him to the corner which was cool. Finn ended up pinning a coup de grace on Strowman. Strowman ended up kicking out of that. Bobby Roode ended up pinning the Glorious DDT on Strowman. Strowman kicked out of that, which was crazy. And Kevin Owens, Kevin Owens, was hitting the ladder at Strowman. Strowman ended up choke slamming Owens, like I said, and it just led to Strowman hitting a running power slam to Kevin Owens on the ladder to score the win. So Strowman ends up winning the match, and my pick for the men's Money in the Bank has to go to Strowman. I know there are rumors saying that a SmackDown superstar might win the men's Money in the Bank, and that a Raw superstar is going to win the women's Money in the Bank. But I would like to see Strowman with that Money in the Bank briefcase. Sorry about that, but I was saying, I would like to see Strowman, with that Money in the Bank briefcase. I think he deserves it. He's the big man in there in this match. So, my pick to win the men's Money in the Bank, Braun Strowman. Although, if I'm wrong with them saying that a SmackDown superstar might win the men's Money in the Bank, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind. So, yes. Anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all back here tomorrow night for my SmackDown review.